I'm going to talk briefly in this video about dispute-related issues that may arise in the context of smart contracts, especially where they operate on the blockchain. Many of you will be familiar by now with the concept of a smart contract. This is essentially where the terms of the contract are written in code and are executed by software automatically when certain protocols or conditions are satisfied. Satisfaction of these conditions is verified by an oracle confirming that the precondition has been met. Once initiated, the performance of the relevant term, often the making of a particular payment, cannot be stopped. These smart contracts will often operate on the blockchain, which will mean that there will be an immutable transactional record on the blockchain which cannot be changed without the consent of the participants. A first and fairly fundamental issue is that transactions on the blockchain will often be carried out by parties who are operating under pseudonyms. This has two potentially important consequences. As a matter of English law, and in most common law jurisdictions, a contract may not be enforceable where the parties to it cannot be identified. The second consequence is that if something goes wrong with the particular transaction, then it will be difficult to identify who to sue. There may also be due diligence issues. How do you know whether the party with whom you are transacting is able to perform or is good for any payment obligations? Second, a smart contract will do what it is programmed to do, and there is limited flexibility. Standard provisions in contracts such as warranties and indemnities, which are contained in most commercial contracts, will be difficult to enforce. Whilst a breach of warranty or the indemnity trigger might well be reduced to code, the amount to be paid will be very fact-specific. Similarly, many contracts for services, and in particular complicated IT or construction projects, will require the contract to have a degree of flexibility. Duties to cooperate in the performance of the contract or to use reasonable endeavours cannot realistically be reduced to code and will require interpretation by a judge or other human participant. There are also important issues to consider regarding governing law and jurisdiction. A contract on the blockchain will be validated by the nodes which could be distributed around the globe. As a result, it will be extremely difficult to determine in each case what the governing law and jurisdiction of a particular transaction should be. This may result in uncertainty as to whether a particular transaction is legally valid, or result in satellite litigation as parties look for the most favourable jurisdiction in which to fight their dispute. Finally, there is the question of the immutability of the blockchain. Whilst it's often seen as an advantage that transactions on the blockchain cannot be changed, this is difficult in circumstances where the legal remedy you may want is that the transaction or the contract is rescinded and property, whether it be money or assets, be returned to you. For example, because of a misrepresentation or a mistake. Consideration would need to be given to how you update the blockchain to reflect the true position. For the moment, we are not yet technologically in a position where computer code can replace contract law. So the answer in almost all cases will be to have a natural language contract that sits alongside the smart contract. This will need to deal in particular with jurisdiction and governing law and have a clear mechanism for resolving disputes. This can be court litigation, although at the moment a strong case could be made for arbitration. In arbitration, the parties have far more autonomy to determine the procedure that would apply and could potentially, with a technically able tribunal, mould the procedure to the requirements of that particular smart contract. The natural language contract would also cover other terms that could not be readily dealt with, such as change of law provisions or force majeure. We are still some way from a situation where complex contracts can be dealt with wholly as smart contracts on the blockchain, but evolution towards this stage is likely to be relatively quick as lawyers, clients, and technology experts grapple with these issues and technology advances.